Hey, this is James, Western Welding Academy. We're gonna rate some more of your welds. You better be good, I don't wanna have to bash on them. Last time, they were a little bit rough. Hopefully they get better. I don't wanna beat nobody up. Kiona, maybe it's Kiana. It looks like a stainless piece of angle iron. I don't think that's stick weld. I don't think that's TIG. I'm certain that's a stick weld, stainless stick. You missed your tie-in, but I'm gonna be pretty frank with you. That stick weld, stainless stick, is a whole, it's almost as technical as aluminum. It is its own monster, its own beast. You really have to know what you're doing with it. So if that's a stainless stick, maybe it's a wire, I don't know, but I can see the little trails from the spatter coming off there. And you're missing that right-hand side. It's like you weave over there kind of intermittently. You get it tied in real good, then you miss a spot. Then you get it tied in and you miss a spot. Maybe work on whatever weave or whatever motion you're doing, but it really looks pretty decent for whatever that is. Maybe it was a stainless wire weld. I don't really know. I need some details, but here's one of those good opportunities for learning. It's probably not stainless carbon wire. Then the look of the weld, it's probably not carbon wire. So whenever you weld stainless, you're gonna have, let's say you have 304 stainless steel angle iron like you're welding on, you're gonna wanna use at least 304 wire or 308 wire. You always want a little grade better on stainless steel. Unless you get to like 316, then you're gonna use 316 filler. So don't throw the carbon in there. If it was carbon, great job making the color, but I don't think so. As far as the MIG, you did good. It's a really good looking weld, but make sure you got the details correct, especially before you go throwing them out online, because there's a lot of people that'll see that. I know from experience, those haters will try to cut you apart. Even though when they do that, they tend to be pretty dumb after they start talking. Since that wasn't a stainless TIG and it was some sort of alloy weld, either wire or stick, I'm gonna give you 20 bucks an hour because it looked pretty decent, honestly. And anybody who can do that, anybody who knows. Any alloy stick welds, they're tough. Maximus. Oh, that has to be clean metal because he's welding on top of weld. That looks like 7018. Looks like a good old low hydrogen weld. Max, you must just be learning too. Looks like you're in some sort of fab shop there. Just practicing. Stick, just practicing, Max says. Not too bad. The bead itself looks pretty good, but those beads below it, up against that top wall there, you can see undercut right along that edge. See that undercut on there? That is rough, real rough, dude. You gotta either get your rod angle sorted out. It's usually a rod angle. You're probably pointing too straight up and down when you need to be kind of pointing at that wall, or your heat. You might just be running too hot. But from that bead I can see on top, I don't think you're too hot. I think your rod angle's probably jacked up, or you're just not manipulating that puddle enough. Sometimes you got to kind of push it up onto that wall. Just starting, just learning, practicing. I don't know, you could probably get in some sort of little old fab shop or something for 10, 12 bucks an hour. You know, if they seen that bead on top, they'd be pretty pleased, but if they seen that undercut next to it, they would wonder what they're doing. So get that undercut cleaned up. Melanie, it's obviously you're in a school. Obviously you're in a school, or you're learning, you're in some sort of booth training. Carbon steel TIG, looks like vertical. Man, you're doing everything you can to get that right too. You got your soapstone line there to keep it straight. You got your plate cleaned off. Looks like your heat and travel speed's okay. So your toe lines are just a tad rough. You can see every time you rippled over there. The way to fix that is, you might be long arcing on the side. So when you walk the cup, a lot of people pick the cup up across the middle to clear the weld, and then they leave it up, and then they throw that arc up and out. So when you walk over that weld, push that tungsten down into the plate, and it will drive that heat and that puddle down in there and kind of stretch it out for you. You see old Jake stainless weld here, right? We zoom in on them toe lines. You can see where his ripples are, but you can see how them ripples are kind of stretched out in a nice straight line. And then if you zoom in on your toe lines, you can see how you can see every ripple. Every time you stepped out there, you see them little lumps out there to the side. So if you can make yours look like Jake, which you should be able to on carbon, you'll be golden. But I just want to point out, that's how close you are to being really good at TIG, because Jake's cap is unbelievable. One other thing, don't ever, unless you accidentally do it, but don't ever leave that wire attached to your puddle. When you're done welding, take the wire off. That's a terrible habit to get into. I actually know somebody personally who left their wire stuck on a horizontal, and they turned around and poked it right in their ear hole, popped their eardrum. So it's a safety hazard. Take that wire off there, break it loose, clip the end off so you got a new end to work on, and move on. Man, if you were TIGging for me, that's an easy 22, 23 bucks an hour. Like you're actually doing a really good job. Good job. Just push that puddle down to the toe line a little more. Roman, what do you got there? Looks like a hard wire. I can see the silica on there. It's dark. It looks like it was really hot. That's kind of what a TIG weld looks like sometimes if you get it too hot and you're trying to dab that carbon. Dabbing carbon's kind of dumb anyways, but man, that thing got hot. hot. Either, maybe that metal's really thin. I don't know, but it's clean metal. You could have probably polished it off, maybe got the manufacturing oil out of there or whatever, but it's really dark. You were either running too slow, too hot, but the beads, the ripples in the beads are okay. The toe lines are okay. For MIG, I don't know. MIG, I'm just not a big fan of MIG. I don't know. It's the difference between Little League and Major League Baseball. Like, if you're gonna MIG weld, go play T-ball. I don't know. But I don't know. MIG welders, 14, 15, maybe $16 an hour, because your bead looks okay, but it could be a lot better. I'm gonna call that one $16 an hour. Tommy, jeez and rice, what is that? That looks like it was a sub arc. That's got to be like a pulsed arc MIG or something like that. Whatever it's that stuff, man, it sounds like a zipper going around there. It puts down so much heat and energy. Obviously working in some fab shop or practicing some sort of saddle, I think your fitter skills are probably better than your welding skills, to be honest with you. Your welding's okay, but man, that thing got hot on you. That's that ripple, that straight line right down the center. It's called a penetration line. That means she was getting hot. So if you're putting a bead in there, your bead's probably in there. I'm sure you got your penetration. You could have cleaned it a little better. I can see some rust and crap on there still. Maybe that's why it looks the way it does, but I don't know. There's another $16 an hour corral panel, cow panel weld, I think. Clean your welds, clean them. If you want to make money, clean them. Trace. Looks like you need to trace your welds. I'm going to say 70-18, but geez Louise, I don't know where to start with that one. First, you clean your metal. Got to clean that metal. Somebody's giving you some rusty old garbage to weld on, but looks like 70-18. Looks like uphill. Of course, maybe you ran it downhill and flipped it over. I don't know, but you got a little work to do there, buddy. Try to get you a big enough piece of steel you can run either multiple rods, at least a full rod, and try to get something thick enough to handle the rod you're using. Maybe you're using some 1/8 inch 70-18 or something, and you got a piece of, I don't know, 1/4 inch or 3/16 plate or something like that, too thin for 1/8 inch welding rod. That's kind of what it looks like to me. It looks like it was a little bit hot and you were really scrambling to get out of there. I would knock it down to 332 if you weren't using it, but that's where I would start. And then if that's a vertical weld, put a little oscillation on there, just a little weave side to side, just a little when you're putting that first pass in. And then the next practice I want you to do is to weave one over the top of that first one, and so it's a little bit wider weave. Okay, it's pretty common to weave that 70-18. You know, you don't need to weave a 1/2 inch, but a good 3/8 you should be able to get your weld on there, about 3/8 wide. But you got to clean it up. That's, I don't know, $12 an hour just because I'd have you doing other stuff besides welding. You got some work to do. Keep practicing at it. Vito, another MIG weld. Everybody's sending in MIG welds. I just got your details. Okay, Vito. So it sounds like you run a robotic welding scenario setup or whatever, and want to branch out to manual welding. So little knowledge. If you're running MIG, that's not manual. That's semi-automatic, right? So it's actually feeding the wire for you. All you do is pull the gun along. If you want to get into some really good manual welding scenarios, TIG, stick. Running a TIG torch with one hand, wire in the other, walking a cup or freehand or whatever, or flat out stick welding where you got to feed the rod while it burns away and travel and maintain rod angles. Stick welding is the most technical one. There's a lot of moving parts. Proud of you for trying, proud of you for practicing, especially on your lunch hours if that's all you got. The beads look okay. You're stepping way too far out, I think, though. Those ripples are too far apart, especially there towards that right end. I can see where you dang near come clear out of your puddle and then back into it again. But other than maybe heat management, I want to know why you started in the middle and worked your way out on one, and then that one to the far left, you started on the outside coming in. So are you trying to control warpage? Let us know. I'd really like to know what the purpose was, because normally somebody who's practicing on T-joints or whatever, if you're right-handed, you run left to right. If you're left-handed, you run right to left. But genuinely curious. If you're running a robotic welder, I'm fairly certain you got to have that stuff clean. Or maybe you don't. Maybe there's something I don't know, but I'm sure you got to have that base metal clean. So when you turn that robot welder on and it's doing its thing, run over and grind you up some plate real quick so it's ready to go for lunchtime. Don't weld on that plate with the scale. You got to clean it off. So I was going to give you 17 an hour, but I got to knock you back to 15 until you can prove you want to clean it. Hey, if I was a little bit hard on you, you know where to go. Apply to weld.com. We'll teach you how to fix that up.